Hey everybody, AJ here. Just wanted to get out in front of this episode and let you know that there is some pretty heavy talk of sexual assault and violence against women and girls about a half hour into the show. If you'd like to skip that part of the show, we totally understand, and there are time codes in the show notes for when that part of the conversation begins and ends. So with that being said, here's the show.
And welcome to 10 Very Big Books, a Malazan Readthrough podcast. My name is Peter Bond. I've read every book in the main series. However, my co-hosts are reading the series for the first time. With me today is my friend and closest confidant, India Jones.
Hello.
Our producer, AJ Fileri, is on the show. How are the levels looking?
The levels are great.
And he's Parallel Flakes, the one, the only Joshua Baker.
What the fuck does that mean?
Parallel Flakes. We're calling you
You're flaky, you know?
You're flaky for the rest of the episode. That's your name now.
Okay.
Okay.
Josh, you gotta act excited. Somebody paid to name you this.
I don't know what it means. Parallel flakes?
Let me
I
read
don't
it.
know either.
At the
Are they the
beginning
maggots that fell in the water?
No, at the beginning of the last chapter.
Oh, I just
They're talking
read that.
about Karsa making the
Oh,
sword.
very good. Loved that scene. Oh, now I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Parallel flakes, long and thin, translucent slivers
yeah.
punched away in place.
Sick.
Long and thin, baby. Long and thin.
And that name comes in from our wonderful Patreon supporter, Jonathan Smith. However, I am reticent to call Josh flaky because I'll trash talk Josh any day of the week, but he's not that much of a flake, you know? The kid keeps a committed schedule,
I
you know?
fucking try.
It's funny you say that because when I think flaky, I felt like, dry skin. Which I was also going to say, Josh
I thought
also
about that
looks
too,
very
but I
moist.
also I have a dedicated skincare regimen, and that's
You look
not a
supple,
joke.
Josh.
Thank you.
You look supple.
Thank you.
Yeah, your skin, I can see your pores, they look wet.
No, you don't want to see pores. You don't want to see pores. That is the opposite of good
And I
skin.
don't think
I
they
don't
should be
see
wet.
pore and your skin's dry. I don't know.
So he is flaky.
Anyway, I realized at one point I was in the habit of announcing what we were talking about on each episode, and then I got out of the habit, and I haven't been in the habit for like all of Memories of Ice, maybe. I don't know. But
Sure. It's a good habit, so
in
maybe you
case
should start it.
in case you randomly downloaded this episode, we're discussing all of book 3 of House of Chains, chapters 12 through 17. Do you guys remember the name of this book? I forget it.
I do. I remember it.
What is it, AJ? Thanks for making me ask.
I thought we were all going around and saying if we remembered. It's called
I know it.
Something Breathes.
Just looked it up.
Something breathes.
I don't know why the fuck that's what it's called, but I'm sure it said those words somewhere in there.
Yeah, I saw it last night after I finished reading at 1 a.m. I was trying to think about what it was in reference to, and I just don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I feel like everyone's all the character threads are all far flung and they're breathing.
Nope.
Yeah, I don't.
That wasn't
I don't
it,
know,
bud.
man. I was waiting for the very end of the section to be like, and then something breathed.
All right, let me take a second shot.
But-
Maybe it's like the history of the land is breathing.
Nope.
India didn't say anything. I'm going to assume she agrees with me. So,
Yeah.
I agree with Peter.
thank you.
That's a rough precedent we're setting, that if India doesn't respond, then she agrees with Peter.
You could always just assume I agree with Peter.
Yeah.
All right, we got a lot of chapters in front of us. Let's get into it.
Chapter 12. Cutter and Darius prepare for the looming battle with the Eater. Darius' sword is powerful, once named Vengeance, but now Grief. They then speak of grief and battle, first with a group of Eater. Eventually, the battle ends with young Andy and Apsalar intervening. Darius had the young Andy hide in fear of what the Eater would do to them. Confirming Cutter's suspicion, Darius says his brother Animander Rake should defend the throne himself, and that the young Andy here are Animander Rake's various grandchildren. They speak more of judgment and protection. Apsalar is worried. Both Darius and Cutter are wounded and not in fighting shape. Apsalar suggests Cutter go into the woods, and he finds Malazans, shipwrecked and now taking refuge in a cave. A Dalhanese man named Traveler speaks to them about the Throne of Shadow. They return then and find the Eater assault underway. Darist is wounded, the young Andy scattered, Apsalar unconscious. Cutter calls on the Hound Blind, who answers, and Cotillion arrives as well. They slaughter the Eater, and Cotillion urges Cutter to help the Malazans. Cutter checks on Apsalar, and Traveler arrives and is the only survived Malazan. Traveler takes up the sword named Vengeance, and says he will guard the now vacant throne for a while. Apsalar stirs. She and Cutter offers to help bury the dead, and they go to find a ship off the island. Kalam inspects the well Kindly went into. Something man-like lies within, and it pulls Kalam into the river. The assassin stabs him and the creature throws him out. Kalam then speaks with Ebron about the cult of the Nameless Ones that used to reside there. The cult chained demons to this world. The demon will hunt him and 2 other officers once it is free. Kalam says he is going to get far away and head towards Warakut to find Tavor. His journey is cut short when an Enkarl, possessed by a demon that was in truth possessing the Toblakai that attacked him. The demon wounds and taunts Kalam, but the assassin kills the beast and the Enkarl souls find peace. The wounded Kalam then is found by the High Priest of Shadow, Iskarl Pust, and the soul taken, Mogora. Onrak, his vow broken, sees Talani Mass in their true withered form. Onrak reflects on the Talani Mass in their vow. The kin they are with, led by Monarch Okchum, will dismantle him once they return to their home realm. He says the renegades he hunt have also broken their vow to serve a new master. They speak then of the Tistleosian, and how the Senshal Jorad worships before Kural Thurlan, and a power that has been usurped. Their god Osric has been lost. The Leosian are dedicated to proving him wrong, and summon the Godfire. The Leosian and Troll use their blood, and they tear open a gate to travel into. Troll and Onrak pass through, with Monarch following in his soul-taken form as a giant ape. A few Tist Andy travel into Kural Thurlan. Safely out of the nascent, Onrak says they'll be pursued and must go. Pearl and Lestariel traverse the Imperial Warren, speaking of its nature. They stumble onto a massive crucified dragon, aspected with Otatrol. It is alive, and they examine it and speak of balance. They follow the path of those who crucified the dragon and reach a gate of gold fire. They travel into a pyramid with names marked in it, escape fire, and speak to a Talani Mass. Then they let the Talani Mass rest and continue their hunt. The situation on Drift Avali around the throne really comes to a head in this chapter. The Eater assault, we meet Traveler, there's a battle, Darist dies. What did you make of this whole sequence that kind of starts off this whole book and kind of ushers Cutter and Apsalar into the next part of their journey?
Well, the first thing I want to say is Darist is the epitome of you just wouldn't understand.
You just don't understand.
You just don't get me. And it was every time he talked, I was like, I love this because of how much I hate you. And it was very good. I don't know about AJ in India, but also like as soon as he was like, my brother, and then the word later, sword, I was like, oh, you're animated breaks, brother. Okay, cool. Okay, India's shaking your head.
It's a no from me, dog. Complete surprise.
I don't know. I just thought it was really funny. I like that he's got this sword. It was named Vengeance, but now Grief. Everything about it was so edgy, and I loved it.
Extremely edgelord.
Oh yeah, he's pretty cool though. Like he just like stands there, and then the sword is just moving basically of its own will. He's just like whirlwinding it, and he's just murdering people. It's wild. I don't know. It was very. I mean, I don't know. Fun's not the right word because like a bunch of them die, and it's not a great scene. I don't know. I thought it was pretty effective. In a lot of ways, I didn't expect Darist to have. I mean, I don't know. Like I can't tell if he's dumb. No, maybe I can. He's dumb. I think, and he's just like got all these grandchildren, and it's like, dude, we know that the Tisty Andy like can fight, what if you at any point had taught these guys to fight? You could have easily had not all of them die. I don't know, it just seemed dumb. And then he was also like, there's no way Absalom could have gotten on the island. And then she's like, nope, climb right up. It was pretty easy. I don't know.
And let the record show they didn't all die, but
whatever. I couldn't remember.
India, what did you make of this scene? And with Cutter, at first Absalar saves them along with the Andy, and then eventually he comes back. He summons Blind, and then Cotillion shows up, and it's a big save the day type thing. How would you make of this whole scene here on Drift of Ali?
How useless was Blind in that moment?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was so surprised. That was just not what I expected. And then Cotillion comes and he's like pissed at Blind, like, you did nothing, so I'll just come here and handle it with my little rope, kill everyone.
I do love at the end when Cotillion's like, also I killed everyone on the ships. Goodbye. See you.
Yeah.
Cotillion was in... I mean, this is the first time we've seen like a full Ascendant fight. Yes? I mean, I think like Animator Rake and...
Yeah,
they're like... But like, they're not Ascendant in my opinion. Like, they do not feel the same as Shadowthrone
it's
and
different.
Cotillion,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, they have their own little pocket warren and shit. Like, I would thought it was sick. I don't really understand how he uses a rope to kill people, though. Is it like a magic
that
rope?
rope is crazy.
I mean,
The rope.
He's just like super powerful, so like it could be anything.
Well, here's my question then, AJ. He had to get the name The Rope when he was immortal, right? And then
I imagine he probably garroted people or something, I
guess, but I just like the idea of him being so good at rope that he kill. That's a great image.
He's actually teaching everyone to tie knots. That's what he's doing.
Oh, that makes sense.
He's actually super good at jump rope, and so everyone just called him Rope. That's short.
India, let me. I know you got a good guess. Or like a sniff. What's going on with this Traveler character?
Oh my god, how annoying is that character?
What do you mean, buddy?
I'm fully with India.
Bringing up Traveler, and then I don't know what chapter it is. Maybe it's the same one where they're like, he used to be with those god people.
Mm-hmm.
Shadowthrone and Cotillion are talking later on, and they talk about Traveler.
That's like in the last chapter.
And they're like, let's get away from that guy. So I have a feeling that they kind of fucked him over in some way. I don't know who he was. I don't know what he did. I don't know why his name is Traveler. I'm going to be pissed off if I know who he is, and I don't know who he is.
The problem is, India, is that our knowledge of the before times, like the founding of the Empire, is basically last book, within House of Chains. There was a moment where we got an amount of exposition, but there were so many names, and any of those names could have fucking been Traveler.
Yeah.
And
I don't know.
To be honest, I low-key want to go back and read it again, and be like, okay, which one of these guys does he describe that looks like Traveler?
Yeah.
But even then, what does that mean to me? Okay, great. I have a name now, so.
I'm with you because that doesn't explain how he goes from, whatever he was as a mortal to this dude.
And why didn't he ascend? But why is he still super strong?
I don't know.
Is he ascending? These are the questions.
Dude was
These are the questions that I have. Yeah.
Well, India, let me take us from Drift of Ali to Kalam's journey on Seven Cities, where he, encounters this demon, tries to escape this demon, ends up with a Scarl-Pust at the end of this whole adventure. Kind of some more Kalam swashbuckling adventure time. What did you make of all this and his time with the demons in the desert?
Okay, I've decided for this book, Kalam's parts are my least favorite. Is that for you guys too, or is it
I'm
just me?
fully in your tank, Inge. Really am not gelling with any of that.
It's so boring. I know there's a point eventually, but I can't jazz with it. It's in that whole demon thing where the demon was going to eat him and then he killed the demon, shocker. Who saw that coming?
Yeah. Well, the problem is that
I don't know. It's just, it seems, and then if his scenes weren't bad enough, now his Scarl-Pust is back. And
your favorite character.
Whoa, you better watch your mouth.
Kind of funny. Kind of. I'm just I can't handle this anymore.
I want to hop in.
Please.
I hated Scarl-Pust all of Dead House Gates, and I love him because there's not enough funny in this book, and I just needed that little injection of him doing him.
I've always loved a Scarl-Pust, and that is well documented.
I know. I want to say though,
speaks so much. He just talks so much.
And now you get to meet, and Megora's really in this too, and she's just as great. And I wish I could turn into just a bunch of spiders at will for comedic effect.
Real quick, I want to say, India, my issue with, and Peter, my issue with the Kalam stuff is that Erikson is a good writer, which means that, like, it would be wild if this character, who is on his own, who has his own storyline, was just killed outright. You know what I mean? Like before getting to any, like, you know, which means that whole fight with the demon, I was like, well, he can't die. Like, that would not be good. That would just leave this whole thread just gone. So I don't know, that kind of robbed some of the, like, the danger for me.
I don't know, Josh, but that wouldn't be the first time in this book where somebody died and then came back as a more important role or something.
However, I believe, because I made a prediction last week about that song thing, and I now feel like I'm very right on it. So that was in my mind too, and I was like, I think he has to be human when he gets there.
So I think for me, and maybe we can touch on it later on when we talk about Karsa's 2 chapters. You know, I do think there's this thing where in this book I am somewhat lost. This book 3, I mean, I do feel like the story, it almost spreads too thin and we're too disparate in a lot of ways. And at least with Karsa's story, where objectively he has just gone off on his own side quest zone, you know?
Love it.
At least I think there's a lot of stuff there, and it's really furthering his arc that started at the beginning of the book and is like, it's really developing that further, and we learn a lot of other stuff. So although it is somewhat in this other realm, I'm at least following it more, and I think there's a lot more there for me. Where this Kalam stuff, you know, there's just less there.
I would say in this whole section, this whole 5, however many chapters we just read, the Karsa stuff is the only stuff that didn't just have me, like, spinning in existential, like, whoa, like, half the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you.
But it is getting to the part now where everybody is, like, making their journey toward the same place.
Yeah.
And it's
that classic Malazan move.
Yeah. And so, like, now I feel like in the next book probably is going to be, like, the setup for the big shit to go down. So I'm looking forward to that.
You can definitely tell everyone keeps being like, I don't know, where should I go on 7 cities? Is there one specific place I should head? I don't know. Maybe Raruku. Maybe I should head that way.
We gotta go. We're all going.
Yeah.
For all different reasons.
Yeah.
Oh, real quick, I do want to just get this out there. So we do learn that Smiley and whoever the other person is are alive, right? Like
they're alive.
Or at least they're not as dead as we assumed.
Yeah.
That I imagine they'll have to pop back up somewhere.
Yeah, and like all that I mean, it's not. It wasn't bad. It's just kind of loses me. Do you know what I mean? So AJ, to cut over to you, we have a big section with Onrak and Troll, and they're within the nascent, and this is really about this is when they're trying to get out, and we know all about the ritual, and this is the first part of some great stuff, I think, with them. I think in this book, to me, they really stand out a lot. I was wondering if they stood out to you, and how much of the inner dynamics between these Talaimas, the Tisleosian, and this pair, how that was jiving for you.
Yeah. Okay. Now, honestly, I feel like I missed the part of the last section where they set up this ritual. I started reading that part and I was like, I forget what's happening.
They announced they were going to do it, and they were like, Troll, we need some of your blood. And they were like, how much? Yeah. And then, like, the chapter ended.
I think it was like the Tisleosian have the power to, like, open a rift by calling on their god, but the ritual needs shit.
Yeah.
It was a lot.
That whole thing confused me. So if you want to unpack that a little bit.
I would deal with some
later, and I was super, like,
that part was cool
at that scene.
What specifically? I mean, I think they combine their powers, like, of different magic to do it, but specifically what parts? I guess, you know,
when they do it.
Okay.
And then he's like, "Oh, everybody else died or something." They were trying to fight. You know what I mean? Like,
so that comes later. Yeah.
So they were the Tisleosian were trying to do they were all trying to do the same ritual, but the Talaimas had ulterior motives to open the portal.
Okay, hold on. So India, we do not learn it from these guys, but we do, or sort of do. We learned that Osric, okay, you got that name?
The father of light.
Osric or Osiric.
So Osric is the guy who's like in charge of the Warren of Light, which the Tistylosian, the like high elf inserts worship, right? However, it is very clear through other storylines that whoever they are worshiping currently is not Osric. It is just someone masquerading as him. And the Talani Mass, yes?
No, sorry, I was going to let you finish your thought, but I was just going to say that I don't even think that there's anybody on the throne. They're just assuming it's Osric.
Yeah, like they haven't heard from him in a while, but they... Yes,
to cut
Peter?
in, I was so excited to say Osric, but just to be clear, he is the hero of the Tist-Leosian. Father Light is a different figure, you know?
Okay. But so they basically worship this Osric guy, right? The Talani Mass know that whatever is at the center of this Warren of Light that that the Tistylosian have, they are like, that's not an ascendant. That is like some sort of thing that must be purged. But they can't tell the Tistylosian that. So like during the ritual, when they're opening up these portals, the Talani Mass slide in to go take care of that. And that pops up in the Pearl storyline and in
later on
another storyline.
Laoric, I think?
Yeah, in the Oryx timeline. There we go.
Yeah. Also, I want to go on the record, Soul Taken Ape is the best Soul Taken.
Very cool.
Pretty cool.
So anyway, to go back to your original question, Pete, I am fully on board with Troll and Unrack. They could do anything they want. It's so much fun to just read them doing anything and being best friends. And I really, really love it. And the part when basically Unrack saves Troll's life, more or less, I guess, by ripping him out of the ritual or whatever he did, really just warmed my heart. Mm-hmm. Really, really loved it.
I'm so excited to talk about them, and I think we should again because they have multiple recurring pretty big scenes and we learn a lot about their past. But for now, I think I want to keep things moving and just touch in with Josh. The last part of this chapter, Pearl and Lestariel are traveling through the Imperial Warren, and they encounter this crucified dragon. What's up, Dragon Jesus? What's your thoughts?
I have several thoughts. First off, the idea of a dragon aspected of Otaterral is, I don't know, insane. The idea also of dragons in general is very confusing because sometimes they're soul taken and then sometimes they're not.
Well, it's just
and then I guess this one's just like an actual dragon that's not also like another thing. I don't really know though. Here's what I want to actually talk about is the Imperial Warren. Because I feel like over the course of these first 4 books, the Imperial Warren has gone from this is how the Empire has been so successful, we're so powerful because of this Warren, to actually it's more like, guys, we don't know what the fuck this is, but it sometimes is really good.
There's like, a ton of trash in here, and we can just go through.
Every book, like there's a non-Imperial person who's like, there's signs that this is some real fucked up shit, and the Imperial person are like, we know, just don't think about it, and it's all better.
Don't ask any questions, just walk through,
Yeah, and also the fact that the doors can just sometimes, we saw with Kalama they can take fucking forever, or in this case, the door opens into the Warren of Fire.
Yeah. And
it's just like, oh, we're in hell. We have really goofed here.
Yeah, it's a big vibe, I'll give you that.
I just love it. Every book, the Empire seems more and more held together by dumb luck and duct tape. It's pretty great.
I just love the image of the Otatarl dragon, and I just think it's very, I don't know.
I think it's real cool, and I think when I reread this series and understand what the fuck is happening and why that dragon's there, I'll be like, man, this is cool. Right now, I'm just kind of like, all right.
You're like, okay, I guess that is there.
I guess we do have a Jesus dragon.
Yeah.
That will destroy all magic if it's released.
Other people have been crucified, It doesn't need to be the big JC,
That's true.
Yeah, we already have our Christ analog in this series.
That's true. Hello, and welcome to our Patreon segment, where we're going to shout out people who are paying us money, because you guys fucking rule. This week, we're shouting out...
Very formal, I love it.
Yeah. This week, we're shouting out Talk the Middler, Sid, Eric, the one and only Paradigm Flux Emporium, Jake, Viator Rex, John, Nathan, Joseph, Mel, Joe, Chiratsu, Grant, Maxim, Marcus, and Cian.
Is it Cian or is it Sean?
And Sean. Give it a second. And Cyan. So just pick one of
Do you want me to put all of them?
I think put them all.
I agree. Just throw it every
I'm just going to cut them all right now. Cian, Sean, Cyan.
Imagine it's none of those.
Thank you all so much for contributing to the Patreon. We are absolutely blown away by the generosity that you all have shown us in the community, and we hope that we will do you proud with these bonus episodes and the regular episodes. And just thank you.
Chapter 13. Shaikh commands over the forces of the whirlwind. Leoman will ride out to meet Tavor and assures Shaikh he will not engage with the Malazans, and he departs. Afterwards, Shaikh, Haborik, and Korblo Dam speak together of Leoman and the warriors they have let loose into the desert. Eventually, Shaikh lets Dam go to find Febral. Alone then, Felison and Haborik speak about who they can trust, Leoric, and Bidethal and his warrens. They say the whirlwind is a fragment of Krald's Emerlane with growing power. They both suspect Tavor's Otatoral sword will negate the power of the High Mages in the whirlwind, but the armies will have to meet on the open field. They speak more of magic, and Haborik feels that he is truly unable to leave. Felison Younger is tricked by Silgar into entering Bidethal's temple. Inside, the High Mage Bidethal abuses and mutilates the child. Leoric reflects on the Talani Mass and the past, and then enters the garden to commune with Triss, the Queen of Dreams. Together they speak of Leoric disguising his nature as a Tisleocean, his father Osric, and the Warren Kurald Thurlin. He then returns to the camp. He senses and finds Felison Younger crawling towards Karsa's Grove. Felison Younger wants to recover and await in the grove. Leoric knows he did nothing to stop this abuse. Haborik dreams of jade giants, perfect and sexless. He sees a vision of them, following the crippled god into this world, as if in pursuit. He sees into the giants and sees figures, screaming terrified mouths and beings. He finds himself within the statue, unintelligible voices and unanswerable questions. The voices speak of belief and killing gods. Haborik wakes and found his tattoos transformed by the god Treach, his hands slashed jade, and his Otatoral gone. Felison Younger awakes in the grove, snakes surrounding her. She thinks on Bidethal's words, his damnation of pleasure and sensation, and of the many girls Bidethal abuses. Karsa's god awakens then, and says Felison shall have her vengeance, and she herself will be the knife. We're going to talk about the other plot threads in this chapter, but we wanted to start by discussing the mutilation and abuse of Felison Younger, which is obviously a very dark passage in this chapter, and then later on she's found by Leoric in Karsa's Grove, recovering from it, and she reflects more on that experience. Obviously, it goes to a pretty serious and dark place here. I have some thoughts about it, but I was wondering what impression it left with the three of you.
It was obviously horrible to read about, and it, went into not a lot of detail, but more detail than I would have liked it to have gone into.
Agreed.
And I think we had a really good conversation yesterday. We were all texting each other about it and then decided maybe we should talk about it on the show that we have. I think we were having a good conversation about it being violence against women seems like a theme in this book, which is not a super great theme to have in a book as far as themes go, or at all. But I think, Josh, you brought up an interesting point about it seeming like of all of the violence against women, this one seemed more like it had a narrative point or something.
Yeah. This was the one that I think there is, like, we're not chalking this up to some sort of weird bloodline. We're not chalking it up to like ignorance. This is like pure evil. This is a person who is like, I'm aware that this is awful and I'm doing it because of that. So I just really, it was...
Let me cut in there. I have some mixed feelings about this passage, but I do think that I agree. Clearly the text is fully condemning Bidethal here. You know, he is villainous in this moment, you know. But I do think later on, there's the long passage explaining about his, warped ideology defending castration. And, you know, I think he's at least, they're at least trying to present that type of worldview that would lead him to do that, you know? I don't think it's presented as some inhuman evil that would let him do this. Do you know what I mean? I think it's him carrying out an evil, despicable ideology, you know?
I see what you're saying.
But I think that brought an interesting point for me, the idea that there was like an ideology behind it at all, that I think this moment would have had more of an impact on me as like an terrible, but also an interesting story beat, I guess, if it weren't for all of the rape and abuse of female characters earlier in this book committed by Karsa, just like because.
Right.
Yeah. So
India, how did you feel about this?
I agree with AJ from his like one of his first points that it was just like I had to put the book down literally for how vivid it seemed, and it's just it was just extra. I don't know what place there is in this for books anywhere, honestly. Like I really didn't like it. I really don't ever want to read about it. Right. It's like it's not a made up thing. Like this actually happens. So it is extremely disturbing. And I just, didn't go into this chapter or this book expecting it. Like, so it was just really disturbing. And I don't really know what comes next, like for Felison's story. And I don't know. I just think I just don't like the story. I don't like that this was included in the story. I don't really like it at all. And I wish it wasn't. So those are my thoughts. I don't think there's any point you can really make to rationalize like putting that into a book.
Yeah, like there are other ways to make people obviously bad.
Right.
That don't involve just violence against women or violence against just women, right?
And and it's just like a new, like, it's just
a very specific type of violence that we're only seeing committed against female characters.
I think for me here, the shortcoming is more about how I do not feel like I am being put into Felison Younger's shoes in a believable or meaningful way.
Right.
You know, Lorik finds her in her aftermath, and we're discussing whether or not Bidethal should be in the camp.
Right.
Which feels like this really like plotty type of thing for to be discussing in this moment of trauma. And it does, I don't know, I just can't go there with her emotionally, which to me feels like should be the focus of a storyline like this. So I think the failure to follow her emotions about this in this chapter definitely leaves me out in the cold. I do think he's trying something. I know in the Lorik part he says that, he let everyone, he and everyone else let it happen, which is objectively true, but I don't know what else there is to take away from that besides networks of powerful men let men abuse people. Right. You know?
And the fact that I think this is the last thing I want to say about this, but the fact that her kind of journey, Felison's journey, ends with her being like, well, he was just doing what he thinks is right, so we can't really say anything about it because it'll ruin the rebellion. And it's just like ending that thought with trying to rationalize her abuse feels really shitty. And Lorik immediately after that is like, well, no, this fucker needs to be dead. And she's like, well, no, he can't yet. Just I don't know. It reckons with itself, but also not in a way that felt good to me.
Josh, do you have the last word on it?
Nope. It was rough.
Yeah.
India, do you have a last word on it?
I just wish that it was another situation that happened to get us to this point. I don't know why that had to be what was in the story. And that is the last thing I will say on that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the other storylines in the chapter here. At the beginning of the chapter, Shaik's there and she's talking with Leoman a bit, and then we see the other commanders, and we're kind of just more examining the whole military situation on the outskirts of the Army of the Apocalypse. So what do you make of Leoman's role here? And then what do you make of them talking about Tavor's Otaterral sword and projecting forward about what the battle may be like?
I would say I've been very lukewarm on a lot of the Whirlwind stuff, but I believe this specific part of this chapter is my favorite thing that has happened in the Whirlwind so far, by like a long stretch. Because I have gone on the record that I dislike Felison Elder / Shaik many times.
I believe you've called her a bitch on this show.
Look, more than once.
At that moment in time, she was acting in a way that upset me. I will say that in this part of the chapter, I am all aboard the Felison / Shaik chain. She just fucking hands Corbeil Odam his balls on a silver platter, and it is everything I wanted from this scene. Because Corbeil Odam sucks in every single way. He is self-important. He believes he's the smartest person in the room, and I mean, he did
classic Malazan.
He crucified a fucking army. So yeah, he's despicable in every way. And I loved her just being like, yo, you fucking insect. Go take care of your fucking insect chores or whatever. I just loved it.
She has the great line, it is a flaw among aging men, I think, that brittle self-importance.
Oh, so good. I also want to say that I can't figure Leoman out as, like, I don't know how you guys feel that haven't read the book. Peter, I don't care about your opinion, because you know the answer to this. I feel like Leoman is in this space where I can't figure out if he is an ally, if he is a independent party looking out for his own well-being. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's leaving with these warriors, but, like, is he... I just can't figure out what his purpose is, you know? He says it's because he's tired or what of waiting around or whatever and wants to, like, check things out. But, like, if he went to the Malazans and was like, yo, what's up? Here's a bunch of warriors. We're on your side now. I would be like, I could see that happening. Like, I can't get a peg on him at all. No. I feel like he is maybe actually, like, playing some 4D chess with us and is several steps ahead of where we are. I can't tell yet.
At the end of this part, India, Hoborik says he feels like he is unable to leave, that he is trapped here in a house of chains. What do you make of that? And do you think Hoborik should leave, or do you want him to, or do you think he actually is trapped?
So yesterday, when we were texting about that, I think it was about this scene in particular, and I was kind of confused because I didn't understand what he meant, like how Felison could be the reason that he's in this house of chains and the tea, and I didn't get it, and then AJ explained it. And honestly, I don't really think that he needs to, like, if he wants to leave, sure, like, go ahead, but, like, where's he going? Like, why does he need to go? I think he should stay. I'm always Team Felison, though, not gonna lie. So whatever is in her best interests is what I want.
India, here's where I'm at. I thought I understood the whole Jade hand, like he need to go place, and then he drank some tea and he tripped real hard and he was in space. And that part of this chapter is the first time since book 1 that I have felt like, what are we doing? I thought this was a fantasy book. We now have spaceship hands. We're doing sci-fi. Yeah, India, I don't know. I thought he needed to leave, and now maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just tripped hard enough and he figured out the secrets of the universe.
Let's just talk about that tripping sequence, which is, I think, so well written, so funky and weird. You know, for me, this is like such Steve Malazan shit. I mean, I'm here for, like, and then, you know, the boar tiger boy slips into his weird dream realm and enters the large stage statues of screaming people and blah, blah. You know, man, I'm here for it. Let's trip, my bro, you know? I
also gotta say, yo, our boy Steve has 100% tripped his balls off in order to write that scene so accurately.
Yeah. Please ask him about it on the show.
Okay, yeah.
But, like, who are these giants?
India,
why are there people inside the giants?
Great questions.
Who are those people?
I hope to God that by the end of book 10 we have an answer to that, because I have zero idea. I don't know.
Why do they? Yeah, and like, why are some of them broken? Are they statues or are they people? Are they both?
But see, I think it's like this type of chapter that like at this type of sequence at the beginning of this chapter, would you have ever imagined the book was going to go to a place like this? Do you know what I mean? That's the type of thing where Steve just takes me to some unknown realm and I'm like, yeah, we are here. The dragon is crucified. We're in the jade statue, you know?
I think Steve sat down and he was like, I've been too easy on him for most of this book. Let's just do it.
I've been laying everything out straight and narrow. Well, the final part of this chapter, Leoric.
Wait.
Go, India.
Just right after this, isn't this when when does Haboric realize that Treach, blah, blah, blah?
You're right.
It's here, yeah.
That's at the end of this. He wakes up and now he's a tiger boy and he's all treached up.
How the fuck do him and Gruntle meet up is my question. Because you gotta have the Destriant and Mortal Sword together.
Wait. But if he was in this hand, the jade thing, how then did he come out of it with the Treach God stuff? What the hell? I'm pissed. I was pissed.
I don't know.
I'm pissed. I don't get it. He's now powerful AF. Literally nothing happened except he went inside the body and came out. And it wasn't even what? That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I was also very confused by that because he immediately wakes up and it's like, curse you, Treach. And it's like, we didn't even see a fucking tiger. That entire hallucination. What are you talking about, my man?
You didn't mention him. No one did.
Oh, well, wait. I'm pretty sure that by going into the jade thingy, he comes out and he's like, oh, the Oat to Tarot has fully left my body. He does say that. And I believe the Oat to Tarot leaving his body is probably what opens him up for the transformation into the Treach Destriant.
Okay.
I'm sick of it.
That sounds like a strong theory to me, Josh.
Also, I just want to back up real quick. Back to the initial scene of Shaik on the hill, or you talking with Haboric. I have some problems with her battle plan. Because her I guess I need to clarify. She is very confident that Tavor and her one sword could stop 3 high mages. How far is the sphere of influence of the Oat to Tarot sword, Peter?
I guess we're gonna see.
Because, like, for this to be true, her sword needs to be able to just make like a bubble that just eliminates magic for a huge area. And I feel like we would have seen that with the first adjunct. Lorne? Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very interesting to me. Follow up, just shoot her, and then we're good.
That's a classic war plan. We should let the generals know. Just shoot them, and you're good.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me back up. They shot Shaik. They did shot shoot Coltane. Yeah, it's happened several times where they're just like, "What if we?"
Both those situations had, especially the Coltane situation, a little more moving parts than just shot him. But
I don't know.
All right, AJ, the final part of this chapter we haven't touched on is Leoric, too, goes on a kind of dream journey, except he goes up and talks to Triss, and then we learn all about that he's a secret Tisleosian, or not so secret, if you ask me. Yeah. And then he comes back, and then he goes to find Felison Younger. So what did you make of all this? We're learning a lot more about the Tisleosian in this book, and especially this part of House of Chains. What did you think about Leoric and his history?
I was extremely confused when I first started reading this part, because I wasn't sure if we had learned that Leoric wasn't just like a human, but obviously that was a reveal, so I felt good. That it felt like a reveal to me. No, I think it's interesting. I think it's an interesting little tidbit that they kind of just like gloss over is that sometimes Tice people can just be like, oh, I'm human, and just like blend in, like Animator Rake did apparently for a while.
I love that when he was like, he was a bodyguard for 200 years.
Yeah, it was just like, oh, okay, I guess that's a thing we can do now. No, I think it's really cool. I'm digging all of the Tice family tree history and stuff, and like these ancient wars that nobody else really knows about because they didn't know that the like Leosian existed or whatever. I think it's all pretty neat.
Me too, and it makes me specifically want to read more about Carcanas, but I feel that way every time.
Is that what Carcanas is about?
Well, it's about Carcanas.
What,
so
we'll leave it at that.
A person,
an idea, a place?
Hey, if
Carcanas is a proper noun.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Chapter 14. Wolves stalk Karsa. The wolves are D'Ivor's Relandris, trying to warn him of 2 dire travelers that Karsa will soon meet. Karsa ignores the warning and continues on. He meets Mappo and Icarium in the ruins of a city. Mappo speaks to Karsa as Icarium sizes him up. The two speak of each other's fame and legacy, their powers, and in the end, Icarium strikes. Icarium breaks Karsa's sword, and Karsa knocks Icarium unconscious. Before Karsa can deal the killing blow, Mappo knocks him out. Karsa awakes and finds that Icarium has been digging up a 7-headed statue of a hound. About a week of travel later, Karsa finds an empty town. There, he reflects on the ghosts of Bayroth and Delim, Hood, and the chains of living and dead. He crosses into Warrens, first to Lan, then Omtos Falak, where he finds a Jaghat woman pinned down. He frees the woman, and she speaks of the importance of the Jagodan and how it has preserved so much ancient life and culture. She also speaks of the wars with the Talanamas. Karsa emerges back into the Jagodan and finds a valley where Talanamas made their flint weapons. Uragal and the other Tablor gods appear and speak to Karsa about the ritual, wills, and their lives as Talanamas. Sabal says she has raised an army of fallen to lead against the Lowlanders. Karsa listens, and then crafts his own flint blade imbued with the spirits of Bayroth and Delim. Karsa says he can never be unbound, that the Seven put the chains that carry the souls of those he's killed on him. He denies Tablor godhood, but accepts the title of Knight of Chains. Uragal tells Karsa that he has learned much. Karsa agrees and tells the gods that they shall witness.
So, this is one of 2 Karsa-focused chapters. And at the beginning of it, he is talking to these wolves, and then he comes up and he gets warned that he's going to meet these 2 people, and then, bada! It's Mappo and Icarium. And they kind of brawl a little bit. And so what did you make of this kind of surprise meeting of Mappo and Icarium? And did you think they were going to make an appearance in this book?
Literally, no. I don't know who said it last week that they hoped that Mappo, I think it was Josh, or was it AJ, that Mappo and Icarium come back.
AJ texted me like 3 weeks ago, and he was like,
right after we recorded the last...
Mappo and Icarium.
Yeah, I hate that was the voice you used for me, but okay. Right after the last episode, I was like, oh, I do actually have a real prediction. And I said that in our main chat, but then I messaged Peter privately. Yeah, I messaged Peter privately. I was like, they're going to, Karsa's going to run into Mappo and Icarium, and it's going to be wild. I don't know what's going to happen.
Why did you feel that way?
Yeah, and then it did happen. I felt so validated. I don't know, because Karsa was going off in his own direction, and Mappo and Icarium were wandering the desert. And so I thought, what better time for
just a random meetup on the Odan.
Karsa meets one of his gods, and or whatever Icarium is to the Toblakai people.
So what did you make of this encounter, India?
I liked it. It was nice to see them again. I still don't get their place, but it seems Icarium is going to be gonna make. I don't know. He seems like a big deal to a lot of people. So I don't know. I'm intrigued to see what comes of it. What I didn't get is why, Mappo and Karsa are having, civilized discussion. And then Icarium comes out and he's like, oh, you have to die. I must kill you.
I'm going to pop in. I got this. All right?
Take it.
Okay. The answer to this question is Steve watches anime. I have to assume. Because
Steve's a weeb.
This is I literally just was watching One Piece yesterday, and it's like a classic anime trope that 2 strong dudes see each other and they have to fight because they have to know if they would win the fight. And the only way to know that they would win is to fight. And they just have to do it. It's like the law. It's an anime law, it's a Steve law now. 2 strong people see each other, they gotta fight. It's the same reason Karsa started shit with the dude in the Bone Tower. What was his name? What did we call him?
The Caretaker.
The Caretaker. It's the same, Karsa had to size him up, and the Caretaker was like, all right, and just punched him in the gut.
And the Caretaker is an extremely anime character.
Oh, very anime. Karsa and the Caretaker see each other. One Piece man in my head. They're like, he's big, I'm big, I think I can take him. And they have to.
It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
They just really wanted to kiss, and they didn't know how to take out their aggression in a constructive way, you know?
Yeah.
Well, let me keep things moving. You know, this episode's becoming a big boy.
It's 7 chapters, so.
Wow. So after they get in this big boy fight, Josh, Karsa continues onward. He talks more to these ghosts that are following him, and then he goes and encounters the first Jagged he meets, and then he ultimately ends up back on the Jagodan in a valley with Talani Mass weaponry in it. He then speaks to the Seven all about this army of the fallen, making a flint blade, making the lowlanders, fighting with the lowlanders. And then at the very end, he says he will be the Knight of Chains. So what did you make of this first encounter with the Jagged, but then more this ending part in the Talani Mass Valley?
I actually have, I take issue with the wording of what you just said in some way, because I believe he doesn't agree to be the Knight of Chains. I'm looking at it right now. All he does is reveal that he knows that that's what they want him to be.
Yes, I think at the end of this chapter, they kind of leave it on a cliffhanger-like thing.
There is place for you nonetheless in the House of Chains. I, Knight of Chains, champion of the crippled god. You have learned much, Karsa Orlon. I have, Talani Mass, as you shall witness. He never says, yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe I summed it up bad. I was kind of, honestly, I wanted to put it in a dramatic way. But I do know at the end of this chapter, he kind of leaves it as like a Knight of Chains reveal. And then we obviously follow it up in chapter 17, maybe?
Yeah, I would say it's more appropriate to say that he, the option is there and he understands the weight of it.
Yeah, he faces that title.
I thought this part of the chapter was incredible. I love this, weird Warren travel through Talan and then Omtos Falak. It's very Karsa to just see people in suffering and go, not my problem.
Do you know what? Let's go to the Bone Zone.
Let's go! The Bone Zone!
I love in this part how they talk about how the Warren of Talan and the Warren of Omtes Felak are adjacent and kind of intermingling in this way, and how these two races so long at war are bonded. You know, these two are a pair in conflict with each other. You know, I think it's very interesting.
I love the image of he's walking across this battlefield that is it's very ageless. You know what I mean? Is it ancient? Did it just happen? It's impossible. The only people who know that are the ones who are literally trapped under ice. And then we meet I can't remember the female Jagged. She's incredible. I loved that character.
Yes.
And him, the meeting, he just shatters the rocks, and she's like, no one will be able to free me. And he's just like, hold up, blow. And she's like, all right, you freed me.
She has a great quote after he does that, where she just says, ignorance honed into a weapon.
Yeah, which
is just so good. Karsa Orlong in a sentence.
Yeah. I also find it really interesting. I mean, in the first few books, the Jackets are these these beings that feel almost immeasurably powerful, and then I didn't understand just how crazy Karsa is. You know what I mean? In terms of power and size. I do want to say it felt very Star Wipe when she's like, "You have much to learn, Karsa Orlong." Yeah, it's Star Wipe, and now we're on Dagobah. It's just it's bullshit. But I thought it was really interesting. I have to say, I think I really hope Karsa doesn't do some unforgivable shit, because I love him. I love this journey he is on. It will be a real bummer if he does some terrible stuff later. But yeah.
I love how big the D&D energy is of having Karsa be like, oh, I gotta cross this whole desert, and then the DM's just like, that's gonna take too long. No, you just go through this portal and you'll be there in 10 minutes.
I feel like this whole section has such big D&D side quest zone, talking tree, all this stuff. Let's make a weapon. Let's get a whole big energy. So India, we learn more here about the Seven. And that I think here is when it's most explicit that they are Talani Mass, and we learn more about them and Sibal specifically. So what did you make more about the Seven here, and what's your vibe on them? We talk about them later on, but are you trusting them? Are you with them? Are you worshiping? Are you going to be the Knight of Chains?
I'm not with them. They seem confused. It was in this moment that I realized no one group of people is all good. And that you know, they're flawed and imperfect. And I don't know where I'm going with this, but all I know is that I don't really get them. They're not gods. I don't know what they are. And
I want to, yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to hop in. I do want to clarify a couple things. Can you confirm a couple things for me, Peter?
Absolutely, I can, Josh.
Well, I said Peter, but
no.
Well, India, please confirm.
Yeah. Okay. So the 7 gods of the Templar are Talani Mass, and in fact, they are the 7 Talani Mass who initially failed to take down the female jacket, whose name I've forgotten again. It starts with an A. Aramala. So they're those 7, correct? And because they failed, they should have been like obliterated, but instead they left. And in fact, are they the renegades what's his face? Our current bone boy? I can't think of his name. Onrak. They're the renegades he's chasing, yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So they're all the same. They are gods, they are also failures, and they are renegades, all into one.
Are they gods, though?
Well, they are gods. They make themselves to be gods, and then there's a great conversation in 2 chapters about what a god is. I love that.
They're not really gods. They just presented themselves this way to these primitive
Templars. They're not liars.
Yeah, they're not ascendant or anything. Yeah.
Hate those guys.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I just wanted to double check.
Calling the Templar primitive is judgy in a way, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I was just like I felt kind of good about it. I wanted to double check.
No, and that's why actually a while ago, AJ called the 7 Talani Mass, and then you were like, no, they're not Talani Mass. Yeah, he literally did. We were like, they're not Talani Mass. You're so dumb, AJ. And
you were like...
I showed you fools.
Yeah, you did. You really did.
And I called the Mapo Akarium meat, so...
Well, we're going to have another chance to talk about Karsa, but let's keep things moving. Chapter 15. Fiddler is tracking an army of 3,000 soldiers that is trailing the adjunct. He is surprised to see, though, that they are the burned tears of Kundral. Their leader, Gaul, introduces themselves and says they wish to be like Coltane. Tavor welcomes them, and Gaul swears himself to Timul. They have gained more soldiers, but the legacy of Coltane still hangs over the adjunct and her army. Gamut joins the adjunct later that night, and they speak of the army's future and cycles of history. They then come to the Vathar River crossing. He encounters Captain Kenneb, who's taken following around the dogs, Bent and Roach. Kenneb and Gamut speak of Gessler, the sergeant's god, and the Salanda. Kenneb will keep an eye on Gessler, Stormy, and Truth. Fiddler is lonely and doesn't want to return to Raraku. Fiddler talks with Gessler about deserting the company and regretting coming. They talk about what they would do if they weren't soldiers. Fiddler hears the songs of Nether and Nil. He finds the warlock and butterflies cover Fiddler and urge him forward. Gamut reflects with Kenneb about the past and the history of the land. The remnants of the old battle litter the river Rathar. Tavor orders the bridge to be blown asunder, even if it might insult the tribes. The fists discuss that it should be done delicately and go to tell the tribes. Tavor finds Nither and Nell playing in the river and confronts them about their grief. Fiddler and Cuddle blow the bridge clear and the army can move forward. Fiddler, however, takes no joy in clearing the way. Continuing, the army can see that the Admiral Nak has retaken Ubaradad, and they discuss whether Shaikh will test their army. In the distance, the whirlwind glows. Chapter 15 is a somewhat sad chapter where we reflect on the history of the past and of this land and trying to move through it. And there's also reluctant soldiers in both Gamut and Fiddler. Specifically, Tavor's army re-encounters the river Vathar, and we see the remnants of the battle from Deadhouse Gates, where there was a bloody barge, there were these butterflies, and they talk about crossing over it and moving past both the memory of the battle and the physical remnants of the battle itself. It starts with Fiddler, and he in this chapter reflects on what his life would be like if he wasn't a soldier, thinks about leaving, but ultimately some butterflies rest on him and he finds the strength to go forward. Josh, what did you think about revisiting Fiddler in this section and the River Vathar from Deadhouse Gates?
Well, it took me a little while to remember which one this was. There were several battles, but this is the one that I believe they did. There was a lot of behind the scenes strategy that we were not privy to as readers. You know what I mean?
There was like a river. They went upstream.
Yeah, they destroyed a thing.
And...
They destroyed a bridge. It was a whole stunt. So I thought it was pretty interesting. It's also really interesting to almost no one here was there. You know what I mean? They're going off of rumors they've heard and what they're seeing. But with the exception of Stormy and Gessler, and I think Cuddle, he was there. And then
he's there.
So I don't know. I actually was surprised we didn't get to really hear a lot from them, but we heard a little bit. But I don't know. It was interesting. Gross, also just super fucking gross with a river of held together by blood. So didn't really need that one, Steve, but it was there. So I don't know. It was not hugely impactful for me. It was more of oh, cool.
I just wanted to shout out Gessler here, who I didn't get to read this quote from a while ago. But he swears, and because he belongs to the cult of Fenrir, he says, this is way earlier in the book, he says, "And who in Fenrir's hoofprint are you?" Which is just some real fantasy shit. Do you know what I mean? In Fenrir's hoofprint. It's very good.
By my beard. Yeah.
So, let me come to you, Inge. Gamut talks to Keneb, speaks about the history, and we see some of this struggles with some of the same issues Fiddler does, but we also get a more insight into Devore and how she's leading the company, and she speaks to Nether and Nil. So how are you feeling about Devore and her leading the army under the legacy of Coltane?
I think that even the way Steve writes her character, she seems like such a secondary, irrelevant kind of in a way. She's such a small part, I feel. So even when she is doing things to me, it's first of all, it's always mentioned that she's in his shadow, and second of all, she has no real personality, which I understand, but it's just I don't know, nothing about her parts is ever very impactful to me, or this grouping in general. There are so many characters in this book that I need to keep track of. And so in my head, there's the A list, and then there's the B list, and then there's Gamut and Tavor and all that shit down there. So I don't really think I don't know when her moment to shine is going to come, or when I'm actually going to see her as a relevant character. But I don't at all. I don't know if you guys feel differently, or if you feel like she's not very impactful to the story as it is. But yeah, that's how I feel.
I think it's interesting you say that and present it that way, because to me, I mentioned earlier, I feel like this book 3 here kind of loses me a bit as a reader. I feel like we're just all over the place. And I do feel that way in that definitely when I came into this book the first time, I was like, this book's all about Tavor and Felison, And then you start to read about Karsa Forever, and then you get to here, and there's a lot of other storylines, and I almost feel the way you do, India, that when you come to Tavor, and you come to Fiddler and Gamut, it doesn't really feel like the A story, or the focus of the book, necessarily.
Right.
So I do feel you in that there's a lot going on that it's hard to know where to put your focus. AJ, how did this whole section hit you? Did you have anything you took away from chapter 15?
Of all of chapter 15?
Yeah, the pick of the litter.
Oh yeah, I guess this is just all about... Wow, I didn't realize. So I just wanted to go way back to the beginning of the chapter, where just a whole army of 3,000 people shows up and is like, hey, we'll fight for you.
What's up?
And they're just
here.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now.
They're the ones that in Deadhouse Gates arrived and then gave the refugees a safe place to sleep, right?
I mean, that sounds very realistic, but also
he mentions
no
helping.
Memory, so...
He mentions helping and then leaving, and I believe that means that these are the guys who are the last tribe to assist Coltane. The Coltane army is escaping, and then a huge army appears, and they're like, "We're surrounded!" But that army is helping them, and then they help Haborik and them. but then they leave. I think that's what it is, right? They're guilty that they left.
I know who you're talking about. I just can't specifically. You're
not 100.
Very likely you're correct. I just don't know.
Yeah, he does say that he regrets leaving and stuff. So that sounds right. And then I also enjoy how finally two important people are like, hey, Stormy Gessler and Truth are kind of weird, huh? Yeah. Like, that doesn't seem like a regular tan, I don't think. Like, they're literally like, that doesn't look like a tan, which is just like, yeah, no shit, dude. And then I think it's a Gessler comes up and is like, yeah, it was super weird when I got punched. Yeah, that was weird.
Well, because he got punched and like that's the only thing that's hurt him yet. So
right, yeah. He's like, man, I can't sleep, I can't drink. You know, I'm just like feeling super immortal over here. I don't know what the deal is. It's just like, okay, man, come on. And then our poor boy Fiddler is depressed, which is a bummer.
Yeah,
it's a sad boy.
And just quickly, what the hell is wrong with Nil and Nether? And why are they being treated like children? They are not children.
Well, they are physically children.
Like where did their power go? Is it when that person died, they lost their power? That man in the ground or whatever?
I don't think they lost their power, but I think they are just searching for, what's his name? He comes back up in this chapter with
He's
the butterflies.
He's got the name that's incredibly close to Corbel Adam.
Something with an S.
It starts with an S, but it's nearly identical to Corbel Adam, and it's infuriating.
Oh, Sormo Eneth.
There we go. It's like, well, not super close, but it's two words, and that always gets me.
Yeah.
Good call.
Yeah, I think they're just kind of like, hey, where's our other friend? Like, where's our third?
I also think, I mean, India, Nil and Nether are explicitly in Deadhouse Gate's, like, second. Like, Sorno Eneth is the dude, and Nil and Nether kind of occasionally assist. You know what I mean?
I see.
So, I don't know. And I honestly wonder, I don't know if Peter has any insight, but I wonder if there's a physiological, like, thing happening from them being in children's bodies. You know, if that is impacting their psyches at all. Could be, I don't know.
Probably, right? It'd be weird, huh?
Yeah. Because when they have that conversation with Fiddler and they're like, why did he talk to you? I mean, like, literally, they sound like children wishing that their parents would talk to them, which is rough.
True. Chapter 16. Kalam spends a week in Pust's temple and has healed. Kalam takes a few diamonds and will breach the whirlwind in the heart of Raraku. He travels with Pust to the whirlwind and hears a song. The Aslan demon misdirects the whirlwind and Kalam is able to slip in unnoticed. Cotillion and Shadowthrone speak of Traveler and his stubbornness. They also speak of the Witch Hall. They agree the Talon are up to something, and that it is who Cutter and Apsalar are headed to stop. Cotillion says it will end in Raraku. Apsalar wakes up on a ship with Cutter. She speaks with him about Traveler and paths to walk. Pearl and Lestariel speak with an Earth Spirit and track the paths of rats in the Pan-Patsidon. Pearl uses sorcery to speak with the corpse of a claw that had escorted the divers, Grillin. They sense Hood had visited here, and wonder about how the Warren could have changed those who traveled here. They then think that Belson is likely with the army of Apocalypse itself. Onrak contends with his new memories and thinks back to when he painted a mortal eye mask and trapped the woman in time. Kalava. It was for this crime he was banished from his tribe. And Onrak thinks more on Kalava. Onrak and Troll then continue onward, looking for the renegade Talani mask. They travel together and speak about learning lessons and people changing. Troll thinks Onrak is sounding more and more mortal. Nearby, Testilios are camped and set off to find their old friend Ikariam.
In this chapter, we touch on a lot of storylines again. We already spoke of the Traveler conversation, but we see Apsalar and Cutter setting sail, Kalam slipping into the whirlwind, Pearl and Lestariel on the trail, and Onrak and Troll speaking about their pasts. India, the choice is yours. Which one of these left a mark on you?
Which one of these left a mark on me? I liked when Karsa killed, well, I don't know if he killed or just kind of broke Sibao. And then
broke
took her in his backpack.
Yeah. I do think that's technically in the next chapter, but I too like that when he takes bones and then Troll uses, Onrak uses her other bones. Very good.
Hilarious. Are we at 16 then, not 17?
Yeah, we're at 16.
16.
Oh. So I really liked the whole scene with Kalam and Iskarl Pust and his wife, whatever her name is.
Morgora.
I thought it was hilarious, and how I don't know how crazy they are, and how much he was just like, all right, it's time to get out of here. So that was like a nice little break in all of this like dense chapter, and I think, and Josh said that it's nice to have that little, I guess, fun in all of this.
I fully agree. Steve can be fully funny, and it's always a welcome change of pace because, as we discussed about earlier, the books can be pretty fucking heavy. So when we get into joke, fun time, Spider-Woman zone, then I'm here for it, you know?
Yeah. But where exactly, I don't know if I just kind of forgot or we don't know why. Why is Kalam going into the whirlwind to Varaku?
He's been shot by Sadathon and Cotillion, but we don't know for what exact purpose yet.
Oh, great. So he's just going to everybody else.
Can I let you know my guess? Can I let you know my guess? I think he's being sent to kill Bidithal because Bidithal is trying to usurp the House of Shadow.
That's a fire guess.
I think the lack of knowing his real purpose and the lack of knowing Apsalar and Cutter's exact path, I think, to me, makes it harder for me to follow and invest in some of these storylines sometimes, especially the first time I was reading the book. Because, what are we doing here? Especially when just Kalam's traipsing through the desert. It doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't, I wish I had more to bite my teeth into.
Yeah.
Well, that's, I feel like, a big theme of what's going on in this whole book is just like a bunch of random shit that I don't really know about. And the only interesting parts are Karsa and Felison. Like, I everything else I feel like is just so random right now. And it will obviously come together. And I say this all the time, I think, every time we read. But it's just, like, confusing and hard to remember.
Josh, what stands out to you here? Apsalar and Cutter set sail. Pearl and Lestara investigate and conclude that Felison's probably in the Army of the Apocalypse. And then Onrak and Troll speak of their past.
Oh, I love the Onrak and Troll stuff. I mean, we've discussed they're a great pair.
Best boys.
It's really interesting because the Talani Mass seem like this beautiful mixture of, like, incredibly wise and cynical from their years, and then at the same time, fucking stupid. Because they're like, oh no, he went in the dark cave, and he drew Kalava! Ah! Why does that matter?
They're also very deadly.
Yeah, but they seem convinced that her soul's just gone, but we've met Kalava. She was just like, nah, fuck this. I'm not trying to be dead bone boy forever. Like, I'm gonna go be alive forever. Thank you.
Hot young thing forever.
Yeah, it's just like, why the fuck did we think drawing her was this awful act punishable by exile? That just seems crazy to me. I don't get it. I
really love this section and just him talking about his regrets. And then I think later on, or maybe it's this part, they talk about, it's here. They talk about whether people can change or not.
The whole, everything is incredible. It's just it's just that the inciting act for his shitty life was that he drew Kalava. It's just so beyond understanding for me. Maybe it did something. Maybe it actually did. And maybe that's why she didn't. I don't know. But it's just, as of right now, the information I have, it seems like a crazy reason to exile somebody.
India, what did you think about learning his past and as this Kalava-based incident as the reason for his exile?
I mean, I agree. It's dumb. I don't really, I'm so over the random little stories that are like meaningful, but not. So I didn't really think anything of it. I'm kind of confused as to what their little purpose is. I know you guys love them and their little bromance, but there's just so many of them. This one really doesn't stick out to me, and it's also not extremely interesting to me. So where I did appreciate and like the conversation about change and la-di-da, it wasn't necessarily like impactful at all to my reading experience.
AJ, what did you make of this section? And why don't you put that issue to bed once and for all? Can people change? 3, 2, 1.
Yes. No, I really loved this section. I had to read over Onrak's like soliloquies a couple times just because it was so so many words and so dense. And I was like, I don't know what is going on, because I was like, surely he wasn't exiled for making a painting, but that sure is what happened. And then so Onrak also says when he made the painting in the cave, he felt someone come, and then okay, cool. He
sorry. We can make a trip to the Bone Zone.
Sure. Well, no, that's what I have. What did Onrak?
I got him.
He felt someone come, baby.
Did Onrak and Kalava make love?
Yeah, they fucked.
They definitely did, right? Okay, in my notes I wrote Onrak and Kalava boned. Haha.
Hence how he felt someone come.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. But he doesn't even know that it was her. Because before he's like, oh, I wonder if Kalava ever went and saw my painting, and then like a next page he's like, yeah, then somebody came and we had sex. It's like, oh, I mean, okay. I really love the end of that.
We were really serious earlier. It's a very serious show we made.
I really love the end of that chapter. After Onrak says all his stuff, and then Trell kind of chimes in with some thoughts, and then says they suspect you will join the Renegades, don't they? And then Troll asks Onrak if he will, and Onrak just answers, only if you do, Troll Sengar. And I love them so much, and I want them to kiss. That's where I'm at, I think.
I like where this story is going.
I want to come back real quick. I forgot to mention, I thought that, like, the Talane Mass are so interesting, and they have such this tragic history, right? I feel like nowhere else has it been just so laid out than the idea of Onrak, like, looking at this desert and seeing in his mind's eye like a full ocean. Yeah. And these seagulls and extinct birds, and it's just like that really put it into perspective to me, like the vastness of time that they have existed. I mean, it's hard to think about being alive for that long and seeing everything around you change that way.
So there's also a short thing that Tisleogen are going to find Akari, Mapsler, and Cutter are going off to somewhere. The podcast is running long, so I just wanted to, nod towards those storylines. But before we move on, India, Pearl and Lestari Yale play detectives once more, and they track these pats of rats, and they encounter the remnants of the Divers Grillin, and when Fellison and Bowden were all attacked by the rats in this whole scene, and it's second time in this section that we're kind of flashing back, or so to speak, or we're encountering what happened in Deadhouse Gates again, and in the end they're hot on the trail of Fellison. So do you think, what did you make of the section, and do you think they're going to end up finding her?
I loved it. See, I love Pearl and Lestara. They are the funniest little duo ever, and I thoroughly enjoy all of their communication.
Yes.
So I tend to pay better attention to their parts. So I thought it was really cool. I really, 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 really liked them finding. And you know what else, though? I will say this. Sorry. Quick side thing. The other characters that are like older, Talani Mass, Steve gives them such intense and long and confusing dialogue. And it's just like, I can't. But with them, Lestara and Pearl, it's just quick little quips here and there. They're just
trying to be flirty and ornery with each other.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's delightful. It's a great read. So I really, really liked, though, finding the that old little circle spot where everyone died, and
yeah,
that was I liked to see it from their eyes as like, what the hell happened here? And I'm excited. I do think they're going to. I don't know if they're going to find Fellison, actually. I will obviously find her. I don't know how they'll find her because I don't know if they can just like roll up into her space like that. But I think they're definitely going to be the first ones to touch down, and I don't know what they're going to do if they do find her, because it's not like she's going to be like, oh yeah, let's go home. Haha.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really liked that part. It was a good little treat to read.
Yeah.
Well, let's AJ, do you have anything to add? I was going to keep things moving.
Yeah, I would just at the very end of this chapter, where with the Tisleocean, and they're like, yeah, we have to go find our good friend Icarium, and I'm like, what the fuck hasn't this fool done? Like, yeah. He knows everyone. Everyone knows him by name, and like, just like, what the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's move on to chapter 7. I'm just so, man. It's almost midnight.
I know, dude. I know.
Chapter 17. Karsa forges his flint sword. Invested with Talon, it will not break. He speaks with Sybil about struggles, godhood, and a third path of worshipping imperfection. Sybil tries to tell him more about the crippled god, but he cuts her in half and demands the seven leave the grove. He takes some of her remains and leaves. Troll and Onrak, swept briefly aside by Karsa, enter the cave. Onrak uses some of the Talani Mass remains to heal himself. Karsa enters the Jagodan and hunts. He then finds a Jagat Cynic. When they speak of tyrants of the past, the Fork will assail, and that Cynic will help Karsa find a horse. They travel together to a Jagat within a tree named Furlus. Impaled there, she grows heartwood, and has often given it to Akaria. Horses come to her call, and Karsa picks a stallion and names it Havoc. Karsa tells them they will witness. After Karsa has left, Cynic speaks with Furlusil about the Barbarian, the disguised Azaz house underneath them, and their past with the Talani Mass. Together they send 6 nearby Talani Mass, saying that they aren't as foolish as they seem. So in this chapter, we briefly see Troll and Onrak. It's worth mentioning Onrak kind of uses some bones and fixes himself up a bit. He's looking tight and clean.
Pretty cool.
But mostly the chapter is about Karsa, who finishes his sword, cuts Sybil in half, and then meets these 2 Jagats. One of them's a tree. The tree gets him a horse. Kind of classic stuff. So what did you make all this stuff? And, where are you at with Karsa right now?
I am at the spot where I am so afraid. I'm so afraid because I love this not good. I love this becoming better guy, and the things he is doing and the growth he is making. And I'm just afraid that it's all gonna come to him getting, fucking dead. It's tough. It's very tough. I really want this, if he was the main character of this story and I had assurances that he would not die, I would be like, let's go, all aboard the Karsa train. Yeah, he's yeah.
But what did you make? So what did you make him here of encountering with Sybil more, and they have a long conversation about gods, and he's really confronting these Teblor, what were once the Teblor gods.
I think it's one of the greatest conversations I've ever read. Is him being like, it is not being worshipped that makes you a god. It is listening to your followers and trying to help them. And I was like, that's a very interesting definition of a god, and probably comes from someone like him who worshipped gods who did nothing for him and growing resentful of that. It was really fascinating.
Yeah, I really disagree with Karsa's characterization of what a god is. I mean, I'm not saying Sybil and them are great gods. I just don't think. Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know.
I don't think that's what spirituality is about.
I wouldn't say either of them's right. It's just, it's very interesting for him. He has a very practical view. He has a view that almost makes me think that he is going to decide to become the Teblor god. You know what I mean? I could easily see him coming back and being like, yo, what's up? Our 7 gods are false. You have one god and his name is Karsa. I easily could see him doing that. Witness!
India, what did you make of, where are you at with Karsa? And then what did you make of him encountering these 2 Jagat, one of them a tree woman?
I like Karsa. I don't know where he's going. I don't know what the hell he's doing. I loved the tree woman. I feel so bad for the tree woman. Sad story.
Yeah, me too. Sad tale.
And I'm glad he got his little horse, though. Don't know where he's taking it. Don't know why he wanted it.
That horse scene was my everything.
Spent a whole lot of time leaving the entire rebellion to come get this horse.
That horse was everything about it was incredible. That whole scene.
It's just, honestly, at this point, there are so many things going on that just don't make sense. It's like, how do you even truly form an opinion? Karsa's cool. Karsa's been doing some interesting shit. But for what? These are my questions.
Yeah, I can feel you. I agree that we are, in some ways, I feel we're out at sea. But I actually think out of this book, the Karsa stuff, along with the Troll and Onrak stuff, most work for me. And a lot of the other stuff kind of leaves me in the cold. But the Karsa stuff on the Jagodan is so fun. So I'm just here for it.
Same. I need answers, though, PB. I need answers.
AJ, where are you on this final chapter, and where are you with Karsa Orlong?
Well, the final chapter, I love trolling on Rack. That part was great. 10 out of 10. Nothing really happened.
I love when characters just bump into each other.
Oh, it's so good. I love that. That is when the POV switches are the best, because it's like Karsa saw these two figures and knocked them down, said, "Get out of my way," and then immediately starts back. Is like, Onrak and Troll just got knocked down, and here they are standing up. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
No, but I am really enjoying Karsa's journey. I love his denial of the crippled god.
Hell yeah.
And that felt really good. And then I like when he meets Phil. I can't find it right now. Phil Fearless. Is it Fearless? Phyrlis? Fearless?
What?
It's actually pronounced Paninian.
Yeah, so I was a little confused when he first met, but then I realized that Aramala had freed him from the Warren, right? I think is what happened. Pete?
Honestly, it's so late. I'm just going to agree with you, and then someone.
Okay, because it was that was how the Fearless knew that Karsa was on his way, is because Aramala told him. So I just assumed that he had. I don't know. Anyway, love the horse stuff. It's great. I love that they're like, yeah, you are blood oil.
Oh yeah.
That'll come up again.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
Just that whole part with Fearless is so funny, because it's just like another like kind of Iscarl type character where he just like keeps talking, and it's like Karsa is again with Torvald Nam, where he just like won't shut up.
You mean Sinnig? Sinnig is the talker, really, right? Or am I mistaken?
Oh yes, sorry, no. Oh yes, you're right. Sorry, Sinnig is the talker. Fearless is the tree. My bad. I've been wrong this whole time. Yeah, very good stuff. Classic. Mm-hmm. Karsa stuff. And he gets the horse. Very good. And then
I also like when they speak about Jaggets that helped fight Jagget tyrants, and I enjoyed reading about, I don't know, the split in that culture in that way.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I also like how at the end of this chapter we figure out that trees can eat meat. Of course. It's a fun little tidbit in this world. But no, I like it. I like Karsa. I'm having a great time.
All right, that's going to put a button on this pretty big episode. I got no clue how long it ran, but thank you for sticking with us. We really covered the entirety of Book 3, which is very exciting as we move towards the end of House of Chains. And I'm looking forward to hearing where I think, where my co-host think the story is going. But of course, I just wanted to say you can always tweet at the show or send us an email at 10verybigbooks. We're... love hearing from people and So, Josh, we're leading into the finale of the book. We were joking before about seeing everything, convergences and all that. But where do you think the story's headed now that we're kind of we're entering the final act?
I mean, I think that the conflict between these two armies is going to be nearly non-existent. I think like the decisive blows will be struck without whole armies hitting each other. Personally, but it's tough. Beyond that, I don't know. I don't understand if all the Haborg stuff is important for this book or for 3 books from now. I don't know where Cutter and Apsala are going. It's really tough to say. I think I'm most excited for the meet-up and reveal of whatever the thing is with Kalam and Fiddler. I'm very excited to see how that plays out, but I don't know. I guess
AJ, where do you think the story's headed?
I think that Lestara, Pearl, Crocus, and Apsalar are all going to meet up, and then Cotilion's going to show up as their Nick Fury and be like, all right, my Avengers, it's time to go do whatever I want you to do, because that's kind of what's going on right now.
Pretty good.
With all of that. And I also think, hopefully, Corbel Adam's going to die.
Fuck that dude.
But I feel like he's going to die, and then it's going to be I can't remember his name right now. It's going to be a Calor situation where Corbel Adam's going to die, and the Crippled God's going to be like, "You're mine now, thanks."
I can see that.
But I also think that Karsa is going to kill Icarium, just because. I don't know.
Oh, there's
I think that's what happened.
no way Icarium dies in this
I don't
book.
know, man. He's got that big old sword now.
Okay, India from downtown, calling the shot. The hottest prediction yet going into the ending of the book. Here we go. How's it end? 3, 2, 1.
The crippled god is going to destroy the planet.
All right.
Okay, it's a big prediction, and I love it. That's what we call a moonshot.
Yeah.
You know, straight
Exactly.
to the
That's what I was trying
We
to
got
do.
6 more books on other planets because this one gets fucking
Yeah, the rest of the
destroyed.
books take
Who
place on the
cares how
Jade
this war
Statue
ends?
spaceships.
Guys, the next book is the crippled god, you know? Shit's going to go down.
What? The Cripple God's the last book.
The next book is not the Crippled God.
So next week on the show, we'll be reading the first few chapters of Book 4, House of Chains. And it opens with this. You have barred the doors, caged the windows, every portal sealed to the outside world. And now you find what you feared the most. There are killers, and they are inside the house.
What the fuck?
Ooh.
Which one is that from?
That's disturbing. I'm looking forward
It's
to
from
it.
the next
What chapter
chapter.
is that one from, bud?
That's the epigraph to Book 4.
Oh.
And I just wanted to thank Rick from Twitter for suggesting to end the show that way. So
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks,
everybody.
Rick.
Hello, everyone. Producer AJ here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the podcast, but I would like to take a second to talk about something that is affecting a good friend of mine and a contributor to the show. A couple weeks ago, my friend Jake, you know him as Amaranthan, whose music we use for the scoring of the show, and his family lost their home in a fire. Everybody is okay, but they have really lost everything. There's a link to a GoFundMe that's been set up in their name in the show notes, and it would really mean the world if you could donate even a small amount to them rebuilding their lives, if you're able. If you donate, please send us proof of donation to our email, 10verybigbooks@gmail.com, because we will be donation matching up to $200 using money that we have received from our generous Patreon patrons. Anything you can give would be amazing, and we really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Of course, you can always tweet us your thoughts and feelings about the show at 10verybigbooks. You can also email us, 10verybigbooks@gmail.com. You can also join our Discord by heading to bit.ly/VBB Discord. That's capital V, capital B, capital B, capital D, Discord. That link will also be in the show notes. And as always, thank you so very much to Dan Gesrick for making our spectacular logo. You can follow him on Twitter at Dan Gesrick for tweets about his friend, Kevin. And of course, the wonderful music in today's episode, like I said, is by the one and only Amaranthan, or Jake, from their album Simulant Rain, which you can find along with their other music on bandcamp.com. Links to their pages will be in the show notes, and 10 Very Big Books will be back in 2 weeks on September 11th, talking about House of Chains, chapters 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22. We'll talk to you then, and thank you so much for listening.